We have created the People's Fund of Maui that will put money directly in the hands of the people who need it right now. So if you send a donation, just click where you see below and send a donation. That money is going to go to one of many residents who have been displaced in Maui. We guarantee.
That's right. And I know a lot of people out there, as Oprah and I have been finding, are just having a hard time trusting where the money goes. What organizations should I send money to? How can I help? In this case, the fund that we created with a lot of hard work from a lot of hardworking people who all care about these people of Maui. As Oprah was saying, it is a clean, direct from you directly to their hands, and right away with some real immediacy, because as we're finding, as you guys around the world know, with disasters like this, the number one need is money.
Is money.
In hand.
And so people being able to have their own agency, being able to make decisions for themselves about what they need and what their family needs, that's our goal, is to get that to the people now. And so we appreciate any support that you can give. All the people who were calling me and texting me and messaging me and saying, what do I do? What do I do? This is what you do.
You know.
The People's Fund of Maui.
I don't know why, but the end of that clip just really rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is, but there's something about it that feels almost condescending. Don't know. That's probably just me. Anyway, so the People's Fund of Maui is what they started. That's their little philanthropic, altruistic, for publicity moment for the people of Maui, specifically for the people of Lahaina. And I wanted to talk about it because, again, like I said in the beginning here, I'm pretty freaking sure that a lot of people would probably off the bat wholeheartedly trust in it and just not even look past the surface and be like, oh, what a great idea. I'm going to list a list of reasons why this is a really questionable thing and why you probably should question it rather than trust it. So in that clip, and I'm going to show you the main part of it that's the most important here, because obviously they're kind of fluffing themselves up in the start to make themselves seem very nice and altruistic, of course. That's just what celebrities do. They're giving supposedly $1,200 a month directly into the hands of these people, these direct victims of the Maui fire, specifically the Lahaina fire. On the surface, seems like a noble cause. It's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That seems like a fucking great plan. The problem is that's pretty much all they said, and they got repetitious with it. They did not give any details. So I find this part...
A lot of people out there, as Oprah and I have been finding, are just having a hard time trusting where the money goes.
I just find that to be really kind of fucked up, because they're like, oh, find it hard to trust and know where the money's going. And it's really important to give the finite details of how the structure of this whole system works in terms of your altruism. And that is the financial aspect of it, knowing where it's going. And by the way, I'm pretty freaking sure, because I've watched that twice now, today, makes it 3 times now. The first time I watched it was within like an hour or 2 after it was released, I think. Now I've watched it now 2 days later, and it seems like it's edited, because the fact that I know for a fact in that first one, they specifically said they started it with $10 million. I would assume that that means that that's $5 million from Oprah, $5 million from Dwayne going into the fund for starters. And then they want the average people, the working class people like you and me, who haven't had our homes burn, contribute, which on the surface seems okay. I have my problems with that too, because again, combined they have over $1 billion fucking dollars, but they only contribute $5 million a piece. That's pretty fucked up. I mean, that shows they don't really care. And then they want us to go contribute it when it's probably at the hardest it's been since the Great Depression for people to be able to afford to keep a roof over their head, let alone to find free time to take care of their kids if they have a family, or take care of errands that they need to take care of, or go to a doctor's appointment, or get a doctor's appointment, or urgency care visit if they need one, because maybe they don't know if they can afford it. And also they probably don't have the time to do it. Despite how it's the most difficult time financially for everybody that's a working class person, we're supposed to be the ones giving the bulk of the donations, our hard-earned money, now not just in taxation to the government, who then wastes it on war, but also decides that, hey, you also now need to give it to a celebrity-started fund who have well over $1 billion and be able to fund it wholly themselves. That's why it's so imperative that you have to give the gravest amount of details, just a stupid amount of detail and nuance to tell us, hey, if we, the working class people that are already struggling, are going to contribute our hard-earned money, what little we have, if we even have any liquid cash to throw out there to these people, where is it going, right? Okay, it's going directly to the fund and immediately into the pockets. There's only, before the fire, 12,000 people living in the Lahaina region. On top of that, so the Lahaina micropolitan area. On top of that, let's say conservatively, about roughly 2,000 of those people are either dead or missing since the fires. That brings it down to 10,000. And then let's say 70% of the population number is working class people. That brings it down to 7,000 people. So roughly, say, 5,000 to 7,000 people that are eligible for this $1,200 a month fund. That's only 6,000, 7,000 people. That's it. So likelihood is, and this is especially before I looked and saw how much has been contributed in 2 days, which is endlessly less than I ever expected. It's actually kind of surprising. I'm wondering if actually people are recognizing that it's probably still not trustworthy, and that it's like, well, nah, I'm not really trusting in that to give my money to it because you didn't give me any fucking details. What are you doing with the excess funds, which is what I'm trying to get to. You're guaranteed to have excess funds. What are you doing with it? When are you doing with it? And where is it going? Because $1,200 a month is cool and all. On the surface, great, right? We all can agree on that. There's another detail that is really important, and this is even more so important for the people who are getting it, which is how long they can expect to get it for. Because they didn't even give that detail. They didn't say how many months that they were expecting to be able to use the fund to give to them directly into their bank accounts, their hands, their pockets, right? They didn't do that. They didn't tell you how many months they can expect to have the $1,200 cash injection, which is a huge problem because, like, okay, so in fact, you might actually make these people themselves that need that money and could use it, they want it, but they might actually be put by it to where they might back up and say, you know, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to chance it because I don't know how long I can expect to have this. And especially, I don't want to take the chance of not knowing. If you won't tell me, I'm not just going to suddenly allow myself to wake up one day and it's not there. Because you don't want to get into a reliance or, you know, an expectation setting, but it's per month, but they don't say for how long. That's kind of not right. In fact, it's not kind of right. That's just plain not okay. That's kind of morally fucked up because you're not giving people, in this case, the people you're giving it to, the information details they need. That's a huge reason why you should pull back before donating to this People's Fund of Maui thing that The Rock and Oprah started, because they didn't give you any real true information about how this entire fund works. Again, these guys are hundreds of millions of dollars between them to where together they have well over $1 billion. They've been in the industry for the longest time. They have an infinite amount of connections to very high places and profile people and organizations because of how much money they have, how much influence and power they have, the connections that they have. There's no excuse to wait a whole fucking month and be like, you know, I had to wait a whole month until I saw a video from Dolly fucking Parton saying that she gave money directly to her community when a disaster happened. And I thought, you know, that's what's right. That's what we need to do. And Rock agreed. If you really gave a fuck, you wouldn't have waited a month. You would have used your fucking money, your power, your influence, your connections and networks to immediately go and do something. Again, this is a reason why people went into the distrust wagon of Oprah Winfrey, because of the fact that just before the fire, she already owned like 180 acres of land all around her massive fucking mansion that, by the way, is literally a well-known fact, is just above Lahaina, you know, just above where the fires started. The best possible fucking vantage point and view to just watch the entire town burn. And Oprah, unlike a lot of celebrities, actually lives there most of the time, if not full time. Whereas most celebrities, it's just at a vacation home that they might visit once in a fucking blue moon. Then, like I said, just before the fire, she bought another roughly, I think it was like somewhere between 800 and like 1,200 acres of land. All Maui. Now that part, I don't know where that land is. I would assume it's probably adjacent to her property, but I have no idea. Either way, why the fuck, if you really fucking cared so much, and you literally watch the city burn from your mansion, because you literally actually spend most of your fucking days there, living there, and you really cared, why would you make sure your fucking PR team is ready to go out there and film you? Unless you're just attention whoring. You're just trying to get your attention to look all altruistic and like you actually care. Why do that? Why not instead immediately respond? Because you had a fucking perfect view of the entire town burning the entire time. Why not immediately mobilize your network, your sources, your money to start getting people there to work at helping the families and the people sort through the fucking rubble as soon as it was possible to be able to fucking help them find their charred remains of their loved ones? Why not do that if you really cared? Or at the very least, go set up donation areas and start helping people donate and rebuild. Let alone with that 1,000+ acres, you know, you could have mobilized a team to be able to set up a temporary refugee camp, technically, for the Lahainan citizens, at least a good bulk of them, to be able to stay up on your fucking land. Now you're your land baron, not just a mansion baron on the island. Go out, and especially considering if it really is, especially not just the like 180 acres she owns on her mansion complex, but especially if it's near Lahaina, the 800 to 1,200 acres of land she bought just before the fires happened. Why the hell not set up like a triage center? You could do like a medical center for the worst of the worst victims, you know, before they can finally get some more capacity or transport to be able to get into hospitals and triage centers, you know, trauma centers, burn centers. If not that, literally like a refugee camp, a temporary place for families especially, let alone people that lost their homes and jobs and everything, to stay at while they're sifting through the rubble and everything. You have a lot of fucking land. There's no reason why you couldn't get a bunch of, say, canvas tents, cots and stuff like that, and the basic necessities, and go and get it all in there so that way people are able to have a place to stay. Because it's not like their cars probably even made it through the fire. In fact, most of them literally melted into the fucking asphalt, which is not normal, by the way, which on Hawaii, most homeless people live in their cars. Like my Uncle Daryl, actually. He had been homeless for a while on Maui, because he's lived on Maui most of his life. He lives in Kihei, which is the next town down from Lahaina. He literally, for him, he learned really quickly the best thing you can do is own a car and make sure that you're not only always fully paid on it, you're always at least able to afford your insurance. So that you always have your vehicle and legally, and then always be able to hopefully be able to afford gas. So that way you can move as well, but that your car can become your home, because of the fact that way at least you're still out of the elements, which is kind of the point of having a roof over your head for safety. It makes perfect sense. And so as a result, that's in fact, it turns out what most Hawaiians learned really quickly too and decided to emphasize, because it was way too easy to lose their homes because of how expensive everything is and how it's just normal wages. So as a result, you know, they're like always prepared to end up in their cars and live in their cars instead, including families. And there is a stupid amount of people, especially on Maui, that are homeless, and even more so in Lahaina, that at least were, that lived in their cars. So now their cars are melted into the fucking asphalt and earth and the char. They have nowhere to go. It's not like there's, you know, anything there for them to be able to reside within. The resorts aren't going to let them in. And so if they did, they're probably going to let them max like a few days to a week. They're not going to fucking kick them out. They're not going to fucking let them in there. Especially considering they were instantly like, nah, we're going to keep the tourism boom going. And yeah, there's a whole fucked up reality that there's a bunch of fucking tourists that are like, yeah, I'm not going to let this ruin my vacation. So literally there'd be bodies and you'd see these fucking corpses floating out in the ocean, and they'd be swimming with them and sunning themselves on the beaches as if nothing happened. As if not the entire fucking town's gone. They just didn't care. But you literally have to stop giving a fuck. Stop having compassion. To go like, well, but I'm not going to let it ruin my vacation. I'm going to keep sipping my pina colada, my $1,000+ resort hotel room, and go out there and body surf with the corpses. Because I'm not letting it get away from me. Not letting ruin my vacation. It's like, what the fuck? And then the governor and everybody else are like, yeah, we're going to reopen tourism as if it wasn't still booming, if it wasn't still running. They didn't still have a bunch of tourists that were there before the fires and through the fires and after the fires that were acting like nothing happened. Which, again, proves that these resorts that didn't burn, and there's very, very few resorts that burned, by the way. It burned all the way into the ocean, not just, to the water. It burned through the water that a lot of people went into, to escape the fire, except the water burned, which, last I checked, also is not at all something natural or normal. And there'd have to be a fuel source that would allow it to ignite, but different story. Because that would be a wild, crazy conspiracy theory, despite the fact that literally you have footage of it on fire. But no, it's got to be false, right? And yet, most of the resorts stayed standing, of course. But the ones that burned down, they're rich fucking resorts. These are fucking the richest fucking people on earth that own these fucking resorts. They're chains. They have no problem. Not only do they have all the money in the world to afford to replace it out of fucking pocket, and it would be pennies on the dollar to them, they have the insurance that nobody else can afford. Rich people's insurance. The ones that, give you all the bias and all the money back. So as a result, they are fully covered. They immediately were just drooling once their resorts burned because insurance payments, baby. That's all the more reason why the resorts aren't going to give a fuck about these people. They're not going to let them stay in there more than maybe a handful of days. They're not going to fucking do that because they want their fucking money. These people don't have money anymore, nor do they have a job or homes. Get the fuck out on the street. So if you're Oprah Winfrey with over 1,000 acres of fucking land near Lahaina, why not set up a fucking temporary refugee camp for these fucking people? If you really cared so much and were so emotional over it, you really wanted to do something, why wouldn't you immediately think, mobilize my fucking networks, my resources, my money, my connections, let's get a bunch of canvas tents, let's set them up with a bunch of cots, necessities, maybe even a few luxuries, especially for kids, and let's fucking make it as safe and as great of an environment as possible can be when they know that they're homeless and they have to still potentially find charred remains, so what's left of the charred remains of their loved ones and everything else. Or maybe they'll never find their loved ones and their remains, which is arguably worse. I don't know which one's worse. I guess they're just different. Make it as easy and best for them as we can. Get them out of the elements. Keep them as safe and healthy and happy as possible. So that at the very least you could do that. And maybe even, have some medical personnel and maybe a medical tent there to really at least do some temporary treatments for the most severe victims of burns and inhalation and everything else like that. If you really cared, in your Oprah Winfrey, you would have done that like that. And so again, I think that that's where a lot of people are coming from that don't trust Oprah with this. And thus this People's Fund of Maui either. Because they're like, if you really cared, you would have done that. On top of that, Dwayne fucking Johnson, The Rock, he has a heavy family heritage on Hawaii. And not just Hawaii, being Oahu and Maui. And, he supposedly has all the mana and the energy and then the vibration of the islands, and the spirit of it and everything else, and that's what his whole brand is about, blood, sweat, and all this stuff. Why don't you fucking put your money where your mouth is? If you really care. You have all these connections and all this money and power and influence in Hollywood right now. Why the fuck not put your money where your mouth is? Make your words into fucking actions. If you really cared, and you really wanted to help, and you're really so concerned, why not, use your fucking private jet to fly directly to fucking Maui and put some of that muscle of yours to fucking work? Put those words into fucking action. Your money, literal money, where your mouth is. Show you care. Why wouldn't you, in a heartbeat, immediately prove that you really mean what you say? Get your ass to Maui as soon as you possibly could, and literally with your hard-working calloused hands and all those muscles of yours and blood, sweat, and tears and mana, go out there and fucking help. Move shit. Clear fucking rubble. Help families identify the charred remains of their loved ones. Help them fucking clear out the rubble of their homes. Help them clear out the roads. Rebuild shit. Help them carry and haul injured people. Set up and help literally with hands-on move and get aid to people, whether it's itemic aid, so your typical stuff that people usually think of, like the donations, so whether that's medicine, water, food, clothing, blankets, you could do that too. You're supposedly this grit type of person, this blood, sweat, and tears type of person, this put your money where your mouth is person. Well, if you're really that kind of human being, you would have done that without even hesitating, without thinking. And in fact, if you were really so connected to the people on Maui and Hawaii, you would have fucking done that instantly, in a fucking heartbeat. You would have had no inhibitions, no hesitation. You would have, as soon as you saw that, you would have broke down and said, I gotta fucking get my ass there and I gotta do something. Use my fucking money, my wealth, my influence, my power, my, connections and networks. Let's fucking get to Maui and let's immediately set up some help, some aid, and do everything we can to help these people really recover. You would have done that. And of course, they own a mansion. Who would have thought, right? The Johnsons own a massive fucking mansion there too. So, if you were concerned about a safe enough place to stay from all the fame, you can go to your private, gated, isolated little utopian mansion and rest up and sleep there. Like, it's not as if that's not true. And you can put your team there if you wanted to. You can even put them out there and canvas tents or something out in your backyard, because you probably have enough land to be able to do that. Sure, you could say, well, he's a dad. How is he supposed to take care of his daughters, his girls? Well, these girls of his, other than I think one of them are old enough now, plenty old enough to be able to understand what to do, instructions, and be able to actually be strong enough and able enough, capable enough to help, including physically. Help out. Help move things. Or at the very least, help give out aid. Help give out donation supplies. If you really cared, and you really wanted, by the way, to set the best example for your daughters, you would have done the action. You wouldn't have spoken words. You would have just gone here to Maui and fucking helped. You would have instantly done that. Like, let's get the girls, let's get my wife, let's get my mama, and let's get the fuck over to the land of Mana. It's what you would have fucking done. It would have actually helped those girls a lot to be able to have a first-hand experience of tragedy, like real, genuine fucking tragedy, especially of working class people. So hopefully they're not so out of touch. Because here's the thing, is that compassion is not taught. You're born with that innately. All living beings are born with compassion and empathy innately. That's a fact. So you don't teach that. They're going to be able to have those feelings, and it's a great teaching moment and experience for them, you as a parent, to be able to be like, those feelings you're feeling are because it's what's called empathy and compassion. It's understanding. You're feeling what some of the intense emotions and pain and suffering that these people are going through. A mass loss of life. They lost literally their homes, their cars. They lost all protection from the elements. They lost any money they had, pretty much. They lost literally everything, and they probably lost family members. And some of that might be furry family, aka pets. Like, that's why you're feeling that. Because you care. Because that's the thing that drives you, hopefully, to want to help these people and realize I can do so much more and have an impact so much broader than I would ever imagine I could. Like, that's the idea. That's why it's a positive. And on top of that, again, because you have that mansion, if you're concerned about them, because they're kids, getting really tired and cranky and crappy or needing the food or whatever, needing their breaks, that's fine. Run a fucking rotation. You have the whole family there. Whichever one last fucking went with the girls back to the mansion to take their breaks and their rest. Once you've had your rest and your break, head back out and then tap out with the next one. So then when the girls need another break, then now, say Dwayne started, now his wife can go back or his mom can go back with them to the mansion for their break again. So they're not just the girls giving them another break because they're going to need more breaks than the adults, but also so that the adults can get their breaks too. And then again, you come back, and then when the girls need a break again, then the third person, whichever one, did it, the other two did it last, and now you know your order of your rotation of which adult goes back with the girls. It makes total sense. And then you're going to have your team there, and no doubt they're going to have security. So as a result, you're going to have those special vehicles, those nice long hose, wrongly called Suburbans. You're going to have those, or Escalade, or whatever the fuck your edition, rebadge edition of the same thing is. You're going to have those. Have some of your team go back with them for security. No problem, right? Like that's their job. That's what they do. They're basically like bodyguards. So go ahead, have them go back with them. If you need a coordinator for your team to go back, that's cool too. Have them go back with them. You have plenty of space in your fucking vehicle. Go take them back. You know, it's not, you're going to have multiple of your vehicles probably there too, because you're going to have your team there with you, not just you and your family. That's how you can put your money where your mouth is. And that's why that's a bullshit argument. You can't say, oh, well, he can't take care of his daughters. No, he can. And here's the thing is that why didn't he do that? Well, it's probably because, and this is probably what some of the people are going to make an argument is if they think it's defensible is that, well, he has contracts he's obligated to complete. He has work he needs to do. If that's true, and especially Dwayne himself, I wish I could say this to his face, what your actions or inaction really proves is that you don't care as much as you say you do about the people of Maui, the people of Lahaina, or the people of Hawaii. You just don't. You don't. That's a lie. Because if you did, you would have, like I said, everything I said before, that's what you would have done. But no, you didn't. Instead, you didn't really say anything until literally like, what, a week and a half or 2 weeks after the fires got put out? That's a long time to wait. It proves you prioritize your work over the people, over the islands. Even though you say you don't, you do. You prioritize your money making, as if you need any more. You prioritize that, which is otherwise known as work. You prioritize your fucking work. You prioritize your contracts, if you have any. You prioritize all of your business deals over putting your money where your mouth is and showing how much you actually care. How much it really hurt you. How much it really tugs on your heart. Proving you don't really care. Or at least you don't care remotely as much as you try to make it out to be. So you're a fucking liar. Which again, might also be why some people are like, I'm not going to donate to your fund because I don't trust you. Like, why would you wait this long? If you really cared, where's the leading by example thing that you always preach, Dwayne? It's missing. It doesn't exist. Interesting. So yeah, the details are a huge problem though. Like, you're not giving any detail. And then on top of that, combined together, you're billionaires, but you only are capable of spending $5 million a piece. That's all you're willing to do. Whereas none of you have even cared to put into action your words and actually show how much you physically care by actually physically being present and helping. Like, sure, Oprah supposedly has been down somewhere at least near Lahaina, if not in Lahaina, giving out some supplies for like an hour or something like that. But it was a publicity stunt. That's what a lot of people from Lahaina will tell you. It was for publicity, obviously, because it was just so that they could have a PR moment. She could bring her PR team out to film her there doing it, and then she could say some few words. And this was still like a week and a half, 2 weeks after, and it was only for about an hour or two. And then she was gone again, without a trace. Like, you didn't know where she went. Probably back to her little cozy mansion above the burnt town. That's called publicity. You're just doing it for attention so that you can, in your PR, make yourself look also caring and altruistic. But you're not. You're not really helping. In fact, if anything, you're kind of insulting them because you are literally doing it for PR. You're doing it just to up your image in the public eye as, oh, look how caring and altruistic I am. All in all, it's just a really fucked up situation. And it, again, at least to me, and hopefully maybe this will help you guys understand why, to me and to, I'm sure, plenty of others, this is not really a trustworthy thing. The Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Oprah Winfrey initiative to show they care by opening the People's Fund of Maui is at the very least very, very questionable and a little bit suspicious because there's just everything I've listed basically, including the lack of detail. They're like, oh, because they don't know where the money's going. Well, it's going directly into the hands of the people of Maui. But that's all you need to know. You don't need to know where the excess funds are going. The people that are getting it don't need to know how long they expect to get it, for how many months. That's not relevant. So, People's Fund of Maui. People's Fund of Maui! You see how it's kind of condescending now? My suggestion is don't donate to that fund either. Or at the very least, don't donate it to it until hopefully maybe people enough will realize this and be like, we demand fucking answers. We demand the fucking details and how the inner workings of this whole fund work. Because if we're not going to get it, we're not donating. These people that are getting the funds, they definitely deserve to know too, not just us. So try again next time.